I've selected 8 Wonderkids from the FM21 database. Some are already household names, others are on the verge of breakthrough. But what if we took these players, moved them to teams in the Vanarama North and South, and then locked them into 18-year contracts? Are they alone good enough to bring these teams up the English football pyramid, potentially to the Premier League before they retire? Let's find out. My name is FM Jellicoe, and this is a Football Manager 21 experiment. 8 Wonderkids in the lower leagues, Episode 4. Well, we've got the last season played out. It is 5 days until the 30th of June. Everybody's contract is going to expire, and then they'll all move to America. I mentioned it last time. I don't think anybody got their team to the Premier League. The question is, did any of them get them to the championship, and did they stay there? The closest was probably Mbappe at Blythe. So let's take a look. Oh, good grief. I saw Premier Division and thought they got the Premier League, but Curzon Ashton's fallen all the way out of the Vanarama. And Blythe fell back down to League One. So this, oh, good grief. This is probably, I'm not going to say the most disappointing, but it's the most interesting result to me right now. I mentioned it before. I do think one of the biggest factors was the fact that a lot of these teams are semi-pro, and if they didn't get promoted fast enough, they found themselves in a place where they couldn't bring in the talent to surround the star player they had, and the star player wasn't enough by himself to get them up. Jadon Sancho is probably one of the prime examples of this. National League North to National League to National League North to National League to National League North, and then relegated down to the Evo stick. And the fact that these are his physicals, his mentals are still good in some areas, his technicals are still good in some areas, and he had 18 goals, 10 assists, and 11 players of the match in 33 games in the Evo stick. Tells you about the level of quality he's facing there, which is to say not great. So he finishes the experiment on 350 goals, 273 assists, 266 player of the matches, and a 7.51 rating. I've decided what I'm going to do is sit down and hopefully, by the time this last video comes out, I will have a spreadsheet probably available for download as well on my website, charting everything and just talking about some of the things I saw and encountered. Rayan Chirkri, 34 years old now, still at Chorley. Again, physically falling off, mentally still there, technically still there. And they just got out of the National League North a couple of years ago. So the season has started already, which is why we're seeing no appearances so far. They're all in preseason. But last season, in 41 appearances, 13 goals, 4 assists, 2 players of the match. So he started falling off the physical cliff 3 years ago. Ends his career 802 appearances, 306 goals, 224 assists, 202 players of the match, a 7.42 rating. Yusuf Demir, who I thought because he was younger might actually have a decent chance of being on a squad that got to the championship or the Premier League, didn't. Physically, he's definitely on the decline. Mentally, he's still there. Technically, he's still there. I mean, you can say that. I'm going to say that about all these players. Physically, they're on the decline. That's just a given. Their mental skills and technical skills were already really good when they joined their squads, and those haven't diminished all that much. They got up to League Two. They spent 5 years there, down in the National League, and since then they've been bouncing back and forth between the National League North and the National League. He had some really good seasons, including one 3 years ago. 14 goals, 23 assists, 14 players of the match. He had one in 2032-33. I got a George hair hanging off my hat here. It's driving me up a wall. Good grief. There we go. 14 goals, 12 assists, 10 players of the match. Other than that, not the dominant performer I thought he was going to be. And a lot of that is due to the fact that Filed is, well, they're a professional team, but they were semi-professional for the longest time. And he was 16/17 when the experiment started. So he never really developed into the player he could be if he'd started at a bigger squad. I've seen him in saves where he goes for 33.5 million, 48 million from Rapid Vienna to, a Bundesliga team or Premier League team, and 7 years later, he's one of the best players in the game. So, João Felix at Eastbourne. Yeah, I mean, look at these mentals and technical skills. I mean, they're absolutely fabulous still. But Eastbourne, they just could never get it done. It's one of those cases. They're professional now. I don't know when they turned professional. I wish. Would it be in the landmarks? Club turns professional 2031. So for the first 11 years of the experiment, they were a semi-pro team. Now they got up to the National League, and even after they turned professional, they couldn't go forward. He still had some really good seasons. 23 goals, 17 assists. 23 goals, 17 assists, 16 players of the match in 2032-33. But again, just couldn't. He's not good enough by himself to pull a team up. So still a very good career. 840 appearances, 370 goals, 225 assists, 180 players of the match, 7.34 rating. Sebastian Esposito, of all the players other than Mbappe, and I wasn't counting Erling Haaland, the one player I thought would have the best chance of getting a club up to the Premier League was Sebastian Esposito, because at 18 years old, he is very, very good. The fact that if we take a look at Ebbsfleet United, well, we'll just look at his history here. National League South to National League, then League 2, and then League 1. And they were in League 1 for, good grief, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years before falling back down to League 2. They had their chances. Let's see, the highest they ever finished, 4th, 7th, 8th. They finished 4th one year. I think, if they had managed to go up that year, it's possible they could have gotten to the Premier League. Not likely, but possible. But because he is at 18 years old when this experiment started, he's already very, very good. And I think he has a shorter distance to go in realizing his full potential. I think if he'd been on a better squad or better club, he would have realized that. The fact of the matter is, he's good enough to pull a team up to a certain level. And that level is League 1. And after that, the club just did not surround him with good enough players. He had solid seasons, double-digit goals. Not double-digit assists. A lot of players in the match. And then 2034-35, he really kind of started falling off. His goals went down. His assists went down. Last season, he only had 9 goals in 44 appearances. It was his first sub-7 season ever. But I think overall, this is not a career to be upset by. I think it was right around in here they finished 4th. Maybe if it was this season. And I think if they'd been promoted up to the championship here, it would have given them 6 years to do something. I don't think they would have gotten promoted to the Premier League, but a mid-level championship finish, that's doable, I think. 772 appearances, 453 goals, 136 assists, 202 players of the match, 7.40 overall rating. Ansu Fati, I would have thought he'd been able to get a club at the championship as well, but then again, he's one of the younger players when this experiment started, and the club just did not surround him with good enough players once they got to a certain point. They got up to League 2. They bounced back down, they got back up to League 2, and they stayed there. Now, he's still really productive. 21 goals, 7 assists, 11 players of the match in 46 games. Double-digit goals, double-digit assists a lot of the seasons. I think they turned professional in 2026. So they were professional for a decent amount of time. But 2026, that was here. So their League 2 years, they just probably did not have a lot of money to spend. If we check that out here real quick. Yeah, the most they spent was this season here, which was 3 seasons ago. I mean, 34 in, 350 in, 140 out. And they spent it on okay players, but not really good players. So he finishes 310 goals, 202 assists, and 188 players of the match. Erling Haaland at Hemel Hempstead. Physically not there, technically still really, really good, dominating there. Against this level of competition, he's still going to be doing really good. He really fell off a cliff this season, though, in terms of production. So first year, he did not have double-digit goals, didn't have more than 5 assists when he... Oh, wait a minute. No. He was really productive up until this year. And the club got close to the championship a couple of times. We go to Hemel Hempstead Town. Best they finished was 18th. So again, just a case of he got them as far as he could. He needed to be surrounded by better players, and they just couldn't do it. He finishes with 509 goals, 118 assists, and 193 players in the match, 7.43 rating. And then last, but certainly not least, Kylian Mbappe at Blythe, who had probably the best career arc for this particular experiment. Wow, 3 stamina, 1 strength. And he still managed 7 goals, 9 assists, and 4 players of the match. And they just got relegated out of the championship 3 years ago. So he did what I thought he would. And I thought this was a really good career arc. I would have thought hopefully somewhere in this area here, the team would have really started spending some money and getting better players in. He had the best opportunity to be part of a Premier League team, and they just, I think, muffed it. Well, I can't say muffed it. I mean, if we look at it, they never got above 13th, but even then, 13th was their best season, 2032-33. So they sold 3 million, bought 475, sold 8.5, spent 180. They bought 800 there and sold 450. What did we say? It was 34, 35. They bought 2.8, sold 475. So they tried bringing players in. It was just the quality of players they brought in, and I can't even look at Anthony Patterson because he's no longer in the game. So like Reggie Hinchcliffe, solid. Technically, he's not the best. Mentally, he's okay where it counts as a defensive center back. His marking and tackling are adequate, but they're not fabulous. I think this is probably the most disappointing. I think the fact that he got closer than anyone else, 13th in the championship, and the club just couldn't do anything beyond that is disappointing, really. But they did upgrade their facilities a lot. They upgraded their youth category. They had their chance. They won the Papa John's Trophy. I have no idea what that is. They won that a couple of times. And, he had a solid career. I mean, it's nothing to sneeze at. 452 goals, 152 assists, 220 players of the match, 7.49 overall rating, 857 games. But I think one of the things I am going to do, I'm going to track when everybody's club turned professional, if indeed they all did turn professional. I think they did. I think we checked everything there. And then do a little bit deeper dive offline. Compare what they spent on transfers and things like that. There's plenty of opportunities to really get in the weeds. But I think a lot of it has to do with how I set this experiment up in the first place. By putting them on squads that were semi-professional, they needed quick promotions in order to turn professional. And some players just didn't get it. Mbappe is the best example of a career arc I thought a lot of these players were going to have. A couple seasons in the National League, couple seasons in League Two, couple seasons in League One, a bunch of seasons in the championship, and then possible promotion. I would think if you had more than 5 or 6 years in the National League, North or South, and the National League, chances are you were probably going to be stuck there for a long time. And I think that's borne out. I mean, you look at someone like Jadon Sancho, never got out of the National League. was in the National League North for 2 years, got up, came right back down. 6 more years in the National League North, came up, went right back down. Yusef Demir, they couldn't put it together here. This is if you had taken this and changed this to League One, these 5 seasons here, change those to League One, and then these 3 seasons or 4 seasons here, 3 seasons to championship, I would have thought that would have been a great career arc. But it just wasn't to be. They got to a point where 2028 through probably 2032 were their prime years, and they couldn't cross the finish line. I think this dip down here to the National League, back up and then into League Two hurt Holland. And then once they got to League One, again, this was when he really started falling off. You can see it right here. He went from 23 goals to 14 goals, and they didn't have the quality of players around him to sustain that. So, all in all, I think this was a fun experiment. It's something I wouldn't mind doing again. I think the interesting thing would be, one of the ideas I've been toying with, and the reason this experiment was a little bit easier, was that all these players are offensive players. They're strikers or advanced midfielders. I think it would be interesting to see what if you paired them up with like a good young central mid or a good young defensive center back or defensive left back or right back. What if you put Jadon Sancho and Sandro Tonali on Curzon Ashton and they couldn't move? Could both of them get a player up to the Premier League? I don't know. I think that's something to look into. That's actually an experiment I think I might do here after a while. It would be interesting to see how many core players you would need on a lower league squad like that to see how soon they got up to the Premier League. I think that would be fun to do, and it's a little bit different. I will have to set that up. Now I'm really starting to wonder about that. It's December, Christmas is coming up, got a little bit of a break going on. I got my Kaiserslautern save going. That's going to end here in a few weeks, and then it's off to my Eastern European journeyman. The name pronunciations alone are going to be worth the entertainment value. But this was a fun experiment. I liked seeing the career arcs. I was really hoping a couple players would get up into the championship and at least stay there. But it came close. Kylian Mbappe came close, but horseshoes, hand grenades, hydrogen bombs, some spray on deodorants. It's the only time when close really counts. So, Jadon Sancho and Curzon Ashton falling all the way down to the Evo stick, though, that hurts. That said, if you liked what you've seen and heard, please have a like. Subscribe to the channel for more content. Questions, criticisms, comments, leave those down below. I will answer those as fast as I can. I am FM Jellico. I thank you for watching.